Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
All right, welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim, and our guest today is Mark. So, Mark, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do for a living.
Okay, my name is Mark Todd. I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been here for almost 20 years. I am an internet marketing consultant. I generally work with experts, course creators, coaches, and consultants, and I help them put together their courses, their boot camps, their masterminds, and their challenges. I actually owned a marketing business from around 1999 to around 2014, but I did offline marketing. I had a big print shop where primarily most of our customers were in the entertainment industry. We did a lot of like flyers and posters and album cover designs for all the big record labels that was in Atlanta during the 2000s. So all the biggest rap artists you could think about, I did work for them. And then when 2009 came and the markets crashed, the real estate market, I got into real estate as well. And I had a bunch of money saved up. So I bought like 12 houses cash that year. So what that allowed me to do was a few years later in 2014 was retire from my printing business. So I was able to retire before I turned 40 years old. And I just said that I wanted to spend the rest of my life doing whatever it is that I wanted to do. I didn't want to work for anyone. I didn't want to do any sort of work. I just wanted to do. So at that time, I got into doing like motivational speaking and whatnot. And one of the things that really intrigued me was working with athletes, because athletes had a lot of discipline. They got up every day, did what they were supposed to do to achieve their goals. So I started studying athletes, and then 2016, I worked with a bunch of college teams across the country. I did like a lot of mental training for them. And then in 2017, I just happened to take a chance trip to China when they had during the time where they have all the what do they call them again? The exhibitions where like they have these big conferences where you have like all the manufacturers across the country would come together, and like one of them is called Canton Fair. And I had a product that I wanted to invent that I thought would help me with the athletes. So I ended up going to China for that. And while I was there, I found out about selling products online, e-commerce. Everybody was talking about Amazon. So when I got back, I got into the Amazon thing. And then a few years later, I decided that I would rather to help people sell information online than physical products. And that's how I got to where I'm at. Crazy story.
That's awesome. So, in terms of what you're doing now, can you talk about, who is your like ideal type of client, and I guess also like how do you find your clients nowadays in 2023?
So my ideal client is someone that has any sort of information or knowledge that they've gained over the years that can help other people to get closer to their goals, right? I've worked with people in the real estate niche. One of my clients, or one of my previous clients, he built houses from the ground up. So he wanted to start teaching people how to build houses from the ground up. So I partnered with him, and we ended up doing a boot camp, and I helped him structure his whole real estate coaching business. One of my clients, who happens to also be my younger brother, he's in the healthcare niche. So he works with he's a physical therapist. He owns 3 clinics, and he's been very successful over the years. And he wanted to get into teaching other physical therapists how they can be more successful in business. So he's a business coach to physical therapists and occupational therapists, massage therapists, anyone that's in the healthcare industry. And I do quite a bit of work for him. I'll go in and do like I help them put together the events, whether it's challenges or webinars or boot camps or whatever. I've worked with people in all different sorts of niches. One of the guys I'm working with right now, he's in trucking, and he's had a lot of success in trucking, and he wants to share his secrets to success with other people. So right now we're currently working together on promoting an event that we're going to do next year.
That's
Those
amazing.
are the type of people that I work with. And generally, to be honest with you, I don't really go out, doing a whole lot of marketing for clients. I go to a lot of conferences. I literally just came back from a conference yesterday night. I probably go to around 15 to 20 conferences a year. And just going to all these conferences, you end up meeting people and networking with people. And generally, the people that I work with, just people that I've met that I think have a unique product or have a unique idea, and they need a little help in getting their idea or product or trainings out to the world. And if it's someone that I think I could add value to, that's how I do it.
Awesome. Makes sense. You attend networking events mostly, and I believe this will be a key to grow your business. But other than that, how do you plan on growing your business?
How do I plan on growing my business? So to be honest with you, I only work with a few people a year, and I'm not really looking for a bunch of clients. I have, I guess, would be considered like an agency, and but I don't work with a bunch of people. I like to keep a very very small team, and I only work with maybe around 2 or 3 people a year. And to be honest with you, right now, I am, unless it's like if I meet someone that has a very very interesting idea, I would, and we meet and connect, and I think that I could be of value to them, and it seems like someone that I would want to work with, then I would go ahead and possibly take that person on. But I don't never really look for a lot of clients. I mean, right now I have probably enough people if I wanted, to last me through to 2025, because I've become very, very good at what I do. And I have more people wanting to work with me than I actually have time to work with them. So honestly, I really don't go out looking for clients. It's just if I meet someone and I think I could provide value to them, and they seem like the type of person that I would like to work with, then we connect. And if not, it's fine. I can go a whole year and not work with anyone because I have a bunch of, and I still have a lot of my real estate. I have investments. So I don't really do what I do for money. I love to make money, right? But I don't. It's not like if I go a whole year and not work with anyone, all my bills will get paid. So I'm still good.
Okay, makes sense. But like 2, 3 clients in a year, not sure like how you are able to manage your revenue of the company.
You say you're not sure how I'm able to manage the revenue of the company?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I make really good money because generally when I go in and do a project with a client, I will charge a percentage of the revenue that we make. And most of the projects that I do make either 6 or 7 figures. So I can do one event and make easily 6 figures. And because I have a very small team, I don't have a lot of expenses. My biggest expense every year is just me going to conferences and learning. I reinvest in myself. So I spend over 6 figures a year going to conferences and workshops and being in masterminds. And to be honest with you, that's my biggest expense for the year. So I don't have a lot of expenses. So yeah, so I'm not forced to have to take on a bunch of different projects.
Makes
And
sense. So
that's kind of how I like it.
So in terms of these events, right, that you have for your clients, whether it's masterminds or whether, it's online webinars, what in your mind, because you mentioned that these are very like, high ticket events or you're making 6, 7 figures on these events. So what in your mind are some key things that people should know to have a successful event like the ones that you have?
It just takes it. There's a lot of detail that goes into it. First you have to have a good product, and people think that here's the thing, right? That I realized that if you have a skill that can help someone, just think about any skill that you have that you're doing right now, and think about when you first started to where you're at right now. Generally, it takes years to get to a level of mastery, right? And not necessarily saying that you're the best in the industry at what you do, but you're probably better than the majority of other people, right? And then you ask yourself, right? If I go back and let's say you've been doing something for 5 years and you go back to when you first started, would you be willing to pay someone a good amount of money to, or a decent amount of money to not have to go through everything that you've went over in the last 5 years? And if you answer that question with yes, there's probably a bunch of other people that are out there that feel the same way, right? So that means that there's an audience for whatever it has that whatever it is that you're planning to teach or whatever level of knowledge that you know. And if that's the case, what a lot of people don't realize is that, man, we live in a huge world. there's 8 billion people in this world. And if there's 1,000 people out there that would be willing to know what you know and that are willing to pay maybe even $1,000, and you have $1 million project right there. You have $1 million idea, you know. And then if you have 1,000 people that are willing to pay you $1,000 to skip all those years that it took you to get to your level, there's going to be even more of them that are probably willing to pay you even more money for you to hold their hand and walk them through the process. So just off of your initial course, if you're selling it for $1,000, you can make $1 million because 1,000 times 1,000 is 1 million. But then you may have 100 or 200 people that say, hey, you know what? While your course may be very good, I need a little bit more accountability. I need a little bit more hand holding. And then these people may be willing to pay you $10,000 or $20,000 to for a 1-year program for you to help them to get to where they are currently to where they want to be. So with that in mind, you could, you know, that's a skill that you could sell and make maybe $2-3 million inside of a year, you know.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I guess like I would ask, right, because this is something that, you know, Qasim and I have discussed. You know, Qasim's a software engineer. And I think in software engineering, there's a lot of like boot camps and things like that. So have you worked with that niche, and do you think that's a niche that can be successful in the software development space, you know, boot camps and things like that?
Absolutely. Any skill that people would want to know can work. I haven't worked with anyone. There's a couple guys that I was talking about what we had discussed earlier this year, working with, and I did a little preliminary research, and I think that it could work. For whatever reason, it didn't work out with me and those potential customers. But I think that anything out there that people want to learn that can, especially if it's a skill that can help people to make a little bit more money. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be a lot of money, because here's what most people don't realize, right? In the United States, the average income is $50,000 a year, right? And if you know a skill, like I have some mentees of mine that I was just telling this to a few weeks ago. What they do is they go out and they help people. They do moving, right? And they make good money. They can make up to $1,000 a day. And what I was telling them is that while you do make really good money doing the movement, it's a lot of work, a lot of wear and tear on your body. But what you should do is you should teach other people how to do it. And I think that you would probably make as much money as you make. They probably make 6 figures a year doing it. But then I said, you could probably make 10 times the amount of money if you teach other people how to do it. Because I gotta believe that there's people out there that would love to make an extra $1,000 a week, or even $500 a week by maybe working 1 or 2 evenings or afternoons during the week. You know, $1,000 a week changes a lot of people's lives. You know, if you're making $50,000 a year and you are really just living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, an extra $1,000 a month changes your life. You know, if you're living in a bad neighborhood, $1,000 a month, not have to hear gunshots every night, right? If you're taking the bus to work, $1,000 a month enables you to now buy a decent car, so you don't have to take that bus to work. If you have a family, and an extra $1,000 a month enables you to be able to take your family on vacation, or maybe your family's never been on vacation. So as long as you have something that enables someone to make an extra $1,000 or $2,000 a month, you can sell that information and people will pay money for it. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, when I think about all the things that I've like now, you know, when I was a little bit younger and I saw people selling information, I'd always say, man, it's a scam. I'm not paying them to learn it. I'll learn it on my own. But what I come to realize is that those, you know, if it takes me 2, 3, maybe even 5 years to learn something, right? Yeah, maybe I saved the little initial money that I wouldn't have had to pay the person to learn it. But that knowledge could have helped me to make an extra $200,000 a year, and it takes me 5 years to learn it, right? I didn't save the little 10,000 or 5,000 I would have paid the person. I lost $1 million. You see what I'm saying? Because I could have been making an extra 200K for 5 years, so that's $1 million. So you know, once I had that that mindset shift, then it changed everything for me. And now I don't. If there's a skill that I need to learn, the only thing that I want to know is who is the best at it and how much do they want to show me how to do it. That's it. Once I figure out who the best is. And there's a lot of charlatans out there. There are a lot of scammers out there. So, you can't, what I'll do is I'll try to educate myself enough in that industry to know that a person just can't tell me any kind of foolishness and I believe it, right? But once I know enough and I've studied the industry enough to know who are the people that really know what it is, all I need to know is how much do you charge and when can we start? And I'm ready to rock and roll.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean that's so true. It's like I love the way that you frame it and that you think about it because that is an important kind of aspect. Let me ask you this. So in terms of having in-person conferences versus webinars, right? What's the difference in terms of value? I mean, do you think that webinars are just as effective? And obviously, like since COVID, more people went towards Zoom, or I guess like what do you think from that standpoint?
So I think there's a bunch of variables that come with it, and I've really been putting a lot of thought into this over the last few weeks because I'm actually putting together a course on doing 5-day challenges. And what I've come to realize is that these are some of the variables: your audience, how well the audience knows you, how difficult your product is, or how difficult it is whatever it is that you want to teach is to teach to the audience, the price point. So there's all these different variables. And then, whether you're doing a webinar with Zoom or you're doing a 5-day challenge or you're doing a live boot camp, they're all what's called conversion events, right? And depending on your audience, depending on how well your audience knows you, depending on your price point, that is what is going to help you to decide which one to choose. Now, for an online event, like let's say a webinar, right? You're going to do a 1 hour, 1.5 hour training. To me, that is good for products that are priced anywhere between, let's say, $500 to $2,000. That isn't that difficult to explain because over the time, here's the thing, right? What you're doing is you're not trying to teach the person how to do it on the webinar, right? And this is what a lot of people get wrong. And here's the thing, trying to do, because there's no way that you could teach someone how to do anything over the course of an hour, right? People are only going to remember 5% of what they hear. What you're trying to do is give them the confidence that with more information, they would be able to do it. And that's why they need to sign up for your program that you're selling on the webinar. So if it's a program that's priced anywhere between maybe 500 to 1,500 to 2,000, I think it would be good to do you could do a 1 hour, 1.5 hour webinar for that. If it's a product where it's a little bit more complicated, you need a little bit more time, the audience doesn't know you as much, then something like that, I would do a 3 to 5 online event, that you saw a lot of people doing during COVID, called challenges, right? And then what you want to do with the challenges is the same sort of thing. It's like you want to help the people gain for one, you want them to get to know you and understand your teaching style and realize that you are authentic and that you do know whatever it is that you're professing to know, right? And then you want to give them the confidence that you are the person that could teach them how to do it. Because here's the 3 things that no matter what conversion event you're using, that you have to that the buyer or the potential client has to believe, right? One, they have to believe that whatever opportunity that you're selling them on is really possible, right? It really does work, and it really can do whatever it is that they need for it to do. Number 2, you have to get them to believe that you know how to do it, that you are the person. That's very important because, I could realize that selling products online is great, but do I believe that you are the person, that you are, who you say you are, and that you've really done whatever it is that you've said that you've done, right? And then the third thing, which is probably the most important thing to get them to believe, is that you can help them, right? Because a person can believe that, man, people are making money online, are making millions of dollars online, right? I do believe that. I do believe that you've done it. They always want to believe that you came out of your mother's womb knowing how to do whatever it is that you've done. They don't realize that you started where they're at right now, that a few years ago you were in that position. And we tell ourselves all this stuff like, we look at people like Jeff Bezos. Oh, the reason why Jeff Bezos is one of the richest men in the world is that his dad gave him $100 billion to start, right? They don't realize that Jeff Bezos started out of his garage. Don't realize that Bill Gates started out of his garage. We want to tell ourselves that, oh, these guys started, someone gave them all these millions of dollars, and that's why they're so smart, and that's why they're so rich, right? Because they started at the same place that we started at, then why can't we get those same results? So, and then you have a lot of people that have gone their whole lives, maybe their parents, teachers, all the people around them told them that you're dumb, you'll never make it in life, and maybe at a young age. And these mindsets are built into, this program, this negative programming is built into their heads. So even though they're, it's 30, 40 years later, they're an adult, they still believe that, right? They don't realize that they believe that, but they've heard all these negative things told about them over the years. You'll never make it. You're going to always be a troublemaker and all kinds of crap. And these are the things that are preventing them from moving forward in life. So you have to be able to get through all that crap and get them to believe that you are the person that can help them get to where it is that they need to get to, So, that's ultimately what you're trying to do. To me, live events are really good for if you're selling like really high ticket events. High ticket programs, because again, before someone is going to open up their wallet and give you some of their money, they really have to have faith in you that you can help them. And sometimes people are not willing to spend 20K with you just because they spent an hour with you online, or even if they spend an hour a day for 5 days. They want to come to your event and see you live in person and reach out and touch you and make sure you're a real person. It's very hard to get people to spend a lot of money. Now I've seen people do it. I've seen people sell programs online, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, but I just think it's a lot easier when you're doing it at a live event.
Makes sense. No, yeah, it's really good. So let me ask you this. So what would you say is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew before you got into business in the first place?
Man, the one best advice that I wish that I knew was that pretty much almost anything that you want to do, there's probably someone out there that has done whatever it is that you're trying to do. And the quickest way for you to get to where they are at is to find them or someone like them and then do whatever you have to do to get the information from them. If you have to pay, just pay the money, right? Because you're shortcutting years of trial and error. An example, at one of the boot camps that I did for the real estate guy last year, we had a boot camp. It was a 3-day boot camp. People paid $2,500 to come to the boot camp. At the end of the 3 days, we said, hey, some of you are gonna, and we gave them everything, right? We didn't hold anything back. I have a problem when you pay money to go to an event and then they give you some of the info, but then they hold back some because they want to sell you something else. I think that's underhanded. I think that's sneaky, and I don't operate like that, and I wouldn't work with anyone that operates like that. So we give the people all the information, everything that we promised that we were going to give them. We give them all the information, but at the same time, there are some people that will be willing to that can take that information and run with it and make millions of dollars building houses, right? But then there's some people that maybe lack the discipline and they need to spend the money for a coaching program or whatever, right? And they want the accountability. They want to be able to say, hey, I'm stuck on this step. Have somewhere where they can go in and say, hey, I'm stuck at this step. Can you help me through this step? Well, that costs more money, right? So someone that came to our boot camp, we offered the $35,000, and I'd probably say about 30% of the people that came to the boot camp took us up on the $35,000 coaching program, 1-year coaching program. One of the people that came to the boot camp didn't. They said, you know what, I could figure this stuff out on my own, and they went and did it. Anyway, they went and bought a piece of land and tried to build a house. And I think it was that they bought I don't remember if they bought a piece of land that was unbuildable, or they hired some contractor that ended up taking their money, but then they ended up losing $75,000. And then when we had the next boot camp, they paid the $2,500 to come back to the next boot camp and ended up giving us the $35,000, and they realized that they tried to shortcut the process. And, I wish I would have known at an earlier age that it is okay to pay people to learn how to get a result faster.
Awesome. Well, that's great advice. So if somebody is watching this, what is the best way for somebody to get in contact with you? Do you mind sharing your website or social
Yeah,
media
yeah,
handle?
yeah, yeah. The best way to probably get in contact with me would probably be on Instagram, and my handle on Instagram is Mark MarkIz, like is is was taken, so put Iz marketing. So Mark is marketing. You can find me on Instagram. You could find me on Twitter. I'm probably on Instagram the most, so that's probably going to be the best place to find me. I answer all my DMs. So if someone sends me a DM, if I don't answer it, it's only because it maybe went to a spam filter or something and I haven't seen it yet. But I'm not one of those people that gives out my contact information and I don't answer. That's like a pet peeve of mine. Because I go places and I see people, oh, here's my phone number. You get in the phone, and then, or here's my message me, and then you message them and they don't respond back. I don't do that. If I don't see it, then I mean, if I see it, I'm going to respond. I don't care what question you ask me. I'm going to respond. If I don't respond, it's only because I don't see it. So don't take me not responding as ignoring you, because I hate to be ignored. So I never do that to people. So that's the best way. Or you can email me at MarK at mtcmg.com.
Awesome. Well, Mark, we appreciate it and we're rooting for you. We hope that you have a great end to your 2023 and a very
Thank you.
successful 2024 ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's been an honor. I appreciate you asking me to come on. I enjoyed doing this. Thank you.
Likewise. Thanks, Mark. All right.
Likewise.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mark. Bye.